One more night until the UFL kicks off his 2026 season. 4 games are on the docket for it. Let's waste no time and dive into these matchups. It all begins Friday night at 8 p.m. EST with the Birmingham Stallions taking on the Louisville Kings. The Stallions are 4.5-point favorites in this game, and they're going to be led by Matt Corral. The Stallions are one of two teams this year that are seemingly not going to be running a 2 QB system, and I, for one, am thankful for that. I've not been a big fan of 2 QB systems in spring football for a while now, but the Stallions are not going to be running it. Matt Corral is the starter, and seemingly they're going all in with him. This is a Stallions team that was in the USFL Conference Championship game last year and have been in the forefront of spring football for the past 3-4 years now at this point, being a consistently competitive and championship-ready team. This is the home opener and the very first game in Louisville Kings history, so it's going to be a very interesting one there. It is seeming like Jason Bean is going to be the starter, former Kansas quarterback, but I could totally see them running a 2, potentially 3 quarterback system, at least for this week 1 game. So if you're going to be constantly shifting quarterbacks on offense, going against a Birmingham defense that is seemingly going to be as good as it has always been for the most part, I'm not going to be too keen in picking you, and thus I'm going with the Birmingham Stallions to win this one. Just overall, I am not a big fan of the multiple QB system, and the fact that Louisville is leaning that way, and especially doing it against a really good defense that is the Stallions. Even though I am high on the Kings this season, that's more so an end of season outlook than a right at this moment type of thing, because I do need to see them in action properly before I can truly hop on that horse, even though I am very close to doing so. It's just the Stallions, I have more of an understanding of what I'm getting into with them, even though they're going to be running a new system as well with AJ McCarron being the head coach. I'm still more confident in the talent on that roster because I've seen that talent on that roster win a championship before. Meanwhile, over in Louisville, they have some really good talent. It's just I need to see it in order to believe it first, even though I'm very close to believing it. So for this opener, I am going with Birmingham. There are 2 games on Saturday, and it starts at noon EST with an XFL Conference Championship rematch between the DC Defenders and the St. Louis Battlehawks. The Defenders are 3.5-point favorites in this game, which is kind of interesting because typically St. Louis gets a bit of an edge due to the home field advantage that they have. They play at the Dome in America Center, former home of the St. Louis Rams, and they do tend to fill out that stadium pretty well. So when you have 30,000 St. Louis fans screaming during your offensive snaps, it can be pretty tough. But DC has been one of those teams in the past that have walked into St. Louis and have seemingly been able to block out the noise very easily, and also very easily kill the noise as well. Jordan Teamu back under center for the Defenders, the entire coaching staff being back. This is pretty much the exact same Defenders team as what they had last year. And that was a team last year that walked into St. Louis on one of the bigger stages of this league and handled business no problem at all. I think they'll do the same in this one. I have the Defenders winning. Brandon Silvers is getting his very first start in the UFL this week with St. Louis. Going to be interesting to see how he plays with the talent he has surrounding him. But this is a St. Louis team that I'm just not that high on this season compared to years past with them. A lot has changed on that roster. A lot has really been shifted around. They need to find a new identity and a new idea of what it means to be a Battlehawk. And getting DC in that first game is not going to make things any easier for them. So I'm going to ride with the defending champs. The second game on Saturday's slate is the Houston Gamblers making the trip to take on the Dallas Renegades. The Renegades are 4.5-point favorites in this one, though I do expect this line to change within the next 24 hours because new news has broke before I started recording this that Austin Reed is going to be the starting quarterback for the Renegades. Luis Perez is going to be his backup, though it is also said that they're going to run a 2 QB system, so to expect both to play. Meanwhile, Houston is sticking with Nolan Henderson, who was their quarterback last year during their really good bright spot of the tail end of last season. So at least they're going to have some consistency over there, but it's still a Houston team that I feel like really got impacted by the whole shifting around that the UFL had during the offseason. Meanwhile, Dallas lost quite a few pieces and also not going to be having Luis Perez going against this defense of Houston, which has some talent on that roster. It's a very confusing decision made over there by Dallas. I initially had them winning this game, but due to the quarterback announcement, I am shifting it over to Houston. I just have more faith in a Nolan Henderson-led Houston team, which is something we have seen before, than I am in a Luis Perez-less Renegades team, which is something we haven't quite seen yet in spring football. and it's definitely a decision that makes me very confused on what the idea is here. Obviously, the point of this league is to get people into the NFL, and Austin Reed is the younger guy of the two. But still, you want to be able to win these games early and maybe give Austin Reed some reps here and there through a 2 QB system that you're running anyway. It doesn't fully matter. I have the gamblers winning this one because I think to be able to take advantage of the inexperiencedness of Austin Reed. Sunday wraps things up with the Columbus Aviators traveling to the Orlando Storm. The Storm are 1.5 favorites in this one. This is by far the closest game of the slate, just going based off of the projections here. We still don't quite know who the starting quarterback is for either of these teams are at the time of recording this. So I do expect both of them to be running 2 QB systems, as that is the nature of the UFL. With that, Orlando does have a bit of an advantage here in terms of those 2 QB systems, having 2 NFL quarterbacks on that roster in Dorian Thompson-Robinson and Jack Plummer. But Columbus has the more so UFL guys as well in this, in Jalen McClendon and Jalen Morton. So it's going to come down to the skill positions and everyone surrounding them. Anthony Beck is coaching that Orlando team, so you can be pretty confident that Orlando is going to be the better coach team at the very least. But in terms of talent on the roster, I am going to lean in favor of Columbus, because this is the roster that was built on the backbones of the Michigan Panthers, and that was a very talented roster that they had last year. Meanwhile, this Orlando roster is built off the backbone of the San Antonio Brahmas, and the Brahmas were not that great of a team last year, with an offense that really struggled at times despite having the leading rusher in this league. So I'm not sure how much better this Orlando offense is going to be. At this moment in time, I need to give Columbus a bit more of the benefit of the doubt in this game, just because of what we have to go based off of from last year. But definitely as the season progresses, I would not be surprised if this game gets flipped a little bit, or that Orlando becomes a better team. It's just entering week 1 when we have not seen these guys play yet with this roster. I'm going to lean in favor of a roster that was in the championship game last year compared to a roster that was near the bottom of the league last year. So I am going with Ted Ginn Jr. and the Columbus Aviators over the Orlando Storm. So there are my thoughts on week 1 of the UFL season. I appreciate everyone tuning in. Subscribe if you're new, be greatly appreciated. We go live with pretty much every single UFL game over the course of the season. So stick around, tune into those, it'll be greatly appreciated. And I'll see you all next time. Have yourselves a damn good one. Peace.